Senator Tester of Montana says capitalism isn't working anymore in this instant. He's talking about in rural America. He's talking about meat packers, etc., etc., etc. Let's listen to what he has to say and then take it on the other side because this is rather important.
Egg production has gotten far more consolidated the 44 years since I took over the farm in 1978.
No Democrat speaks to the concerns of farmers and rural voters more clearly than Jon Tester. He has performed the political miracle 3 times now of getting elected to the Senate as a Democrat in Montana, a state that has not voted for a Democrat for president since 1992. Robert Leonard's New York Times op-ed this week is titled, "Biden has already done more for rural America than Trump ever did." Robert Leonard describes how the Biden infrastructure bill is bringing necessary improvements where he lives in Iowa and says, quote, "With more than 450 rural hospitals in danger of closing, with funds from the American Rescue Plan, the Biden administration program, energy rural health care grants will award up to $43 million to benefit 2.2 million people across 22 states." Senator Tester is worried about what increasing monopolistic practices of big business have done to the supply chain for food.
Capitalism isn't working in this particular instance because of concentration and consolidation in the industry. Consumers are paying higher prices because without competition, they're set without regard to what people can afford. Because we've seen a mass exodus off the land. Rural America is drying up. On the other side of the equation, we see consumers that are being treated unfairly in the marketplace because there's no competition. Today, we can address both of those issues with these bills.
And joining us now is the senior senator from Montana, Jon Tester. And one thing I love about our discussions on this program is anyone in this town of Washington can talk about politics. Not everyone can talk about government, and not everyone can talk about government in a way that everyone can understand it. And the way you approach this subject in that hearing yesterday, with that line, and I've heard you say something like this before, that capitalism isn't working in this spot where we need it to work, which is the efficient delivery of our food products to the marketplace. I mean, that line, capitalism isn't working, is something you might expect to hear from Bernie Sanders somewhere, but it's a Jon Tester line.
Well, look, it's not working because, as you pointed out, we've got monopolistic nature. The 4 biggest packers that have control over 80% of the food that's delivered in this country. It's not much different worldwide. For capitalism to work, you have to have competition. And if you have competition, that's good for the folks on the ground, the cow-calf operators in this case. It's good for the small and medium-sized feeders, and it's good for the consumer. Because it'll help regulate prices. Right now, that's not the case. The ranchers are getting not near enough what they need to stay in business for their product, the calves. And on the other side of the equation, you've got the folks that are buying meat in the meat counter that are paying way, way more than they should. If there was competition in this system, if capitalism was really working, that wouldn't be the case. These bills that were put forth will help solve that problem.
What will they do? What will your legislation do?
Well, basically, I am not for shutting down the big packers. What I am for is getting more transparency and making sure they're following the law. We passed the Packers and Stockyards Act in 1921 because of consolidation in the meat industry. Today, it's more consolidated than it was in 1921. During since the late 70s that I've been on the farm, and I've took over a farm that my folks and grandparents ran before me, we're seeing consolidation happening much quicker. And in the end, it's drying up rural America. These small towns that I knew when I was a kid are just small pieces of that culture because they've dried up. My town, 1,000 people in 74 when I graduated from high school, now has 600. The high school had 160 kids. Now it's got about 40 kids. The truth is that, hardware stores no longer exist. We had 3 grocery stores. Now we've got 1. We had 3 grain elevators. Now we got 0. The problem is that we need some changes here. We need the system to work, or our food chain is going to be put at risk. And by the way, if we lose family farm agriculture and family ranch agriculture in this country, that food chain will be put at risk. And I am telling you, democracies don't work unless you've got a fed society.
Okay, I have some news for Brother Tester. Senator Tester, Your initial statement was correct. Capitalism is not working, but you added in this instant, and you're talking about on the farms, right? And you then preface and said, I don't want to shut down the big meat packing guys. I don't want to touch. I don't. I just want it to be fair. I don't want it to be monopolistic. Here's the reality. Milton Friedman already gave capitalism marching instructions. The only people that matter are the shareholders and the executives, the people who get bonuses. Nobody else matters. It is not their job to do any social issues. You're talking about capitalism should be working as well on the farm. It doesn't. You know how farming should really be working? As a collective. You know what you remember what the milk guys used to do? They pull their milk together, they build milk factories. You remember what the corn guys did at one time? They got together and they built gasohol, they built plants that created alcohol. They worked together as a collective and together, like some of the orange producers as well, as collectives. Now the capitalists come in and they say, hey, farmer number one, two, and three, I'll give you several $100, $100,000, several $1 million. All you do is you provide us with this stuff all the time, and then we go ahead and capitalize on your grain transmitter and all these different equipments that processing. We take care of processing for you. We take care of all these things for you, and we capitalize it. We create stocks and bonds and all of these different financial instruments so that we can turn your hard work into what it's all about. So you were correct with the first half of your sentence. Capitalism doesn't work. In any instant, however, it only works for the capitalists, and that's a minute number of people. They give others the semblance of it working for you. You know, they make you believe you have a job, but you still have to have credit cards. Let's be frank here, folks. Collectives work. Collectives work. Capitalism in your food supply is going to create the same kind of problems it creates in every sort of supply. Let's get that into your heads, folks. Let's remember that. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.